Good morning, and thank you for being here. First and foremost, I want to thank MITI, Ministry of International Trade Industry, especially the Human Resource Division as well as the Corporate Communication Division for the invitation to share my thoughts and best practices with regards to working from home and virtual meeting. Right? This is a 1 hour session, and in this 1 hour session, the whole idea is to give you the what's, the high level view in terms of how we go about it. And hopefully it's some gems and nuggets that will be useful to you, right? Now, if you or your organization is still in the midst of figuring out how to make it work for working from home, then I think this is a pretty good sharing to use as a checklist in terms, have we been doing that or have we not been doing that, right? So use that. One of the things that you would obviously experience for the last 2 months is this thing called working with constraint. Now, working with constraint basically says that you don't always have things as you have, right? Because in the office you can just go somewhere, grab something, or meet somebody, you can go to the person. But when working from home, you are limited. So even for this presentation, as I don't have access to the slide sharing capabilities, my colleague Shazwan Saleh will be putting links in the content area so that you are able to you're able to walk through with me on this presentation. I put things on slides because as learners today, we are very visual and we do need slides to be able to follow through. All right, good morning, everybody, once again. Shazwan, if you are listening through, please share the slides, the link to the slides so that we can go through it this morning. Let me share a bit about myself. Obviously, you'll be wondering, for the last 5 minutes, who is this guy is talking? So my name is Isaac Peter. I'm the founder of People Performance. So I run a company. We are an OD and learning specialist company, focusing very much in the area of culture, leadership, and team. I started off as an engineer. So if you are an engineer, you can relate to some of the things that I'm sharing. I'm very process driven, and therefore, even by sharing this morning, it's going to be very structured in a way that is easy for you guys to pick it up. If you know in my presentation, I have worked across different industries, not just in one industry. I started off my career as an engineer. I graduated from UTM Skudai, then I moved over to Singapore, where I started my career. I'm a PR there, so I'm still working in Singapore, but my business is both in Singapore and Malaysia. One of the interesting things after engineering, I moved and do charity work, and that's where I start to understand about people, right? The motivation that drives people. Why is it that while working from home seems like quite a straightforward thing, people find it hard to deal with it? People grapple with it. I personally don't think it's an attitude issue. I think it's a lot about what we call transition and emotional management issue. And this morning, I would like to share a bit more on that. Right. So having all this gives me a very good perspective as I work with clients on different issues about how do you juggle between organizational needs and people needs. Now, one of the things that if you look at page 3 of my slide presentation, the vision and what we're going to do is really about trusted OD partner. Now, the word trust, if you look at it in today's context, not just at organization level, even at leaders level, at employees level, is a valuable asset. Without trust, a lot of things can't happen. Without trust, people become calculative. Without trust, people tend to do the bare minimum. And working from home has a lot to do with trust building. And I'll show you what I mean by that, right? So currently, the next page, if you are following with me on it, the next page, in terms of experience, I'm not going to go into the many. You can see the clients that I work with. I work with multinationals. I work with SMEs. And one of the things that's common across is the people issue, right? I'm currently working with Malaysia Productivity Corporation, the southern region, on a program, a 12 months virtual instructor-led program because of the MCO and circuit breaker in Singapore. How do you lead virtually? And a lot of what I'm going to share this morning is the things that I'm going to cover in that particular program, but in more detail. So this is a lot more for you to be able to understand where we are going, right? This morning, I have 3 objectives that I would like to achieve with you. First is, it's really to recognize the emotional and physical challenges of working from home. It's one thing to say we have problems, but it's another thing to recognize at the deeper level how this emotional and physical challenges affects us, right? Number 2, I'm going to share with you tips and techniques to make working from home work for you, right? And these are what I call practical tips which I use for myself, tips which I use with my team of consultants in terms of making our working from home more effective, more pleasant, right? And finally, tips and ideas on how to make virtual meeting effective, because one of the challenge is a lot of managers are calling up for a lot of meeting because basically they're just checking in, and nobody has ever said we don't need meetings. So I'm going to give you some tips, and this will be useful for leaders. Who's the target audience for me this morning? I'm going to address both the what we call the leader group, that means those who are leading people, as well as the employee group. How do we make this happen? All right. This morning's presentation, I am going to break it out into 3 parts. The first part is understanding people, right? Because in everything we do, it is about people. So the first part, I'm going to talk about understanding people. The second part, we are going to cover in terms of working from home. What does it mean? What are the challenges? What are things we need to do to establish it, right? As well as what do we need to do to make sure we are able to stabilize it. So that's one part. The second part, which is a part 3, is conducting virtual meeting. How do we conduct virtual meeting effectively, as well as what do we need to do, more of the practical tips in terms of what can be done to make it more impactful. So that's what I want to do with you this morning, right? If you are on my slide, I'm on page 6 right now, and page 7 basically shares with you that unfortunately this is not a virtual training, this is just a webinar. So the tendency for it to be high level content, low level of engagement, right? So I want you to be aware of that. Secondly, I won't be able to go very in-depth, but I will try to give you examples that you can relate to so it makes sense for you. If you're on the slide with me, page 8, first we'll start with understanding people, and specifically for this topic of working from home. Oh, sorry. Maafkan saya ya. This presentation sepatutnya dalam 2 bahasa, bahasa Melayu dengan bahasa Inggeris, right? So I switch back. So untuk memahami orang, ada dua faktor yang kita nak kena tahu kan. Pertama ialah culture. Kita sebagai manusia dalam dunia ke dalam sebuah negara, kita impact culture memang kuat, right? Jadi saya akan cakap mengenai culture. Jadi you akan perasan kenapa kita di Malaysia cara kita buat kerja memang lain. This is the fundamentals. I work with a lot of organization, and the thing that is common across organization is people. So if I can get you to really think in terms of culture, budaya kan, it's very important. So I will not go into the details, but as I share with you, we can do that. Now, one of the things I want to highlight, if you are on the presentation page, is that this thing called high context culture. And Malaysia is a high context culture, which means when we say something, we expect people to know everything, right? So, you know, when sometimes managers will say, hey, you know what you should do, right? And we will always say yes. That is a high context culture. In a low context culture, which is more like Germany and the US, people go into the details of it. So that's something that we really need to recognize when we work with culture. All right. So as we go through the sharing, I'm going to talk a bit more about this. But culture memang besar, right? Banyak orang salah faham dari segi if it's a culture means we cannot change it. It's not true. Budaya boleh diubah. Bagaimana? Memang ada proses, memang ada tekniknya, dan saya akan tunjuk macam mana kita some techniques to ubah budaya to work from home. Alright? The other part is called neuroscience. Yang ni bidang untuk memahami cara otak kita berfungsi, right? For this presentation, I just want you to remember cara kita punya otak berfungsi is what we call the fight or flight response. If you're on the presentation, it's on page 8. Fight or flight response dalam erti yang paling mudah ialah kalau you rasa macam dikecam, you feel threatened emotionally, not just physically, you akan become defensive. Jadi if you think in terms of tempat kerja, kalau orang marah kita atau orang buat kita rasa macam kita bersalah, kita become defensive. Even if they give us good feedback, we don't listen. We just but we don't listen, right? And that's what we mean by feel threatened. If we feel good, we will say, tell me more. Jadi kalau you tengok, and these are used very well by people in the sales kan. Jadi macam when we greet people good morning, we say you look good, it makes people feel good. So from the way of the brain, kalau kita buat cara tu baik dengan senang, cara yang positif, orang akan mempelawa masuk. Alright, so that's what we talk about the fight and flight response. The second part of it is response to change. Now, dari tempat kerja ke work from home, it is about change, behavior change. One of the things that we know the way our brain works is we like to do things in a routine way. Maknanya kita ada pattern lah. Maknanya kalau kita bangun pagi, cara kita buat benda kan, is memang follow pattern. So the way the brain makes us do things follow a pattern so that the brain doesn't have to work hard. We need to remember that because that is what happens all the time when we are working. And this happens in the workplace. We have routine, right? And the routine is the one that gets us through the day. So for change to work, and this is very important because I work with change projects a lot, and people always forget that change has an emotional impact. Maknanya, if you ask people to change, you can force them to change, tapi the more you force them, their attitude become negative. Tapi kalau you cakap dengan dia and you and be nice to them and you pujuk them, then they change better. So the number one factor if you want the change to work is the person must be willing to change. All right? Now, willing to change takes time. But if you are able to take the time, the change will become permanent. Right? The change will become permanent. Let me share with you from a neuroscience perspective with working from home and bekerja di pejabat. So what's happening is this. A lot of the time, kita now, some of us sekarang working from home, kita berharap apabila MCO dah tamat, kita balik kepada cara lama kan. So that is called tolerate. Right? Lagi satu cara kita kata, okay, lepas ni kita akan balik pejabat tapi mungkin kita akan implement working from home lagi. Now, that is called acceptance. Jadi tolerate and acceptance. Kalau kita nak orang berubah, kita kena bagi dia accept cara baru. Kita tak boleh buat dia tolerate. And that's important from a brain perspective. Sebab kalau orang tak mahu, apa-apa you buat pun takkan dapat. Alright? So question is, so that is understanding the human factor. And this is very, very critical because if you understand how human works, you know how to manage and work with them. And this is exactly the skills that I provide to my clients in terms of how do you tweak people in a way that's mutually beneficial, right? So let me go into the first area, which is work from home, right? If you do not have the slide copy, please indicate in the comment box, and my colleague will forward you the link so you are able to access this presentation this morning. On page 9, if you look at the slide on page 9, there's this thing called transitioning from the workplace to the home. Now, it may seem like just working, it may seem like it's very simple, right? Kerja kat office, pergi terus kerja kat rumah. But there is a lot of difference. First, let me share with you, I share perbezaan dia. In the office, the organisation sets the rule. Pukul berapa masuk, pukul berapa makan, pukul berapa coffee break, pukul berapa mesyuarat, semua office yang tetapkan. Resources dalam is nearby, right? Kalau you nak idea daripada Zol, you just walk over to Zol and say, hey Zol, how can I do it? Right? So no problem, apa-apa you nak boleh. And then in the office, you have what we call visual management. So if I'm the leader, I'm the boss, I'm the manager, I just look around. Firstly, I will know who has problem. Because from their facial expression or the way they sit, I can get, okay, he has a problem, right? Jadi, because of visual management, it's easy for a leader to see somebody got problem, jalan kat dia, tap on the shoulder and say, hey, come, share with me what are you doing right now, right? Because visually we can see, right? And then in the office, our colleague, rakan kita boleh support us. Jadi kalau kita ada masalah, he can quickly offer help, alright? Right? So he can quickly offer help, and that's easy. So kita tak payah, we don't need to go to them, they come to us. So this is what is happening in the workplace. And finally, in the workplace, a lot of the time, the leaders are the one that monitors the employees. So you can do your work. If leader needs to change on the spot, easy, right? Because everybody is nearby. Now, that's the office. When you go to home, kerja kat rumah, memang beza. Firstly, office don't set the rule. You set the rule. Either you or your partner, you set the rule. Which means, pukul berapa bangun, pukul berapa makan, everything you set, right? So that's one of the major change. From office set the rule to you set the rule. Second change, resources. in the office, kalau you nak something, you just go to the file, or you need somebody, you just go. Tapi kalau kat rumah, the office resources limited. Something you cannot access because the file is hard copy, no soft copy. One. Secondly, kalau you nak panggil orang, kadang-kadang segan kan, you don't call on the phone. Because in the office senang, but home very difficult. Thirdly, when you work from home, it is deadline management. It is no more visual management. Bezanya apa? Deadline management, if I'm the manager at home, I'll be wondering, okay, Azlan say, tomorrow 2 p.m. he will submit. So I only know that. But do I know whether Azlan has problem? I don't know. Right? Whereas visual management, I can see Azlan doing something, I can always see, oh, he got problem. So that is the major shift. Third one, next one, colleague, your rakan membantu kita. If at home, if in the office, people can always come out, got problem, right? Tapi kalau kat rumah, orang tak tahu. Jadi orang kata the sense of responsibility, reliance on self become very, very high. Kalau tak tahu, kena tanya. Tapi kalau kat pejabat, kadang-kadang kita tak tahu, orang boleh datang bantu. And finally, work from home, there is no one to monitor us. You have to monitor yourself. So this is the major transition from the office to the workplace. Now, is it easy kalau you dah 5 tahun kerja, you've been working for last 5 years, and all that 5 years, your boss just tell you what to do, you just follow, right? And then now you have to manage yourself. Very big change, right? So this is one transition. So when it comes to working from home, there are 3 areas that is very, very big that needs to be addressed. Firstly, self-governing. You become your own government. That's why I say like, you become your own government. Because at home, only you can do it. That's one. Secondly, expectation, right? Now, expectation is, what is my problem? At home is different because sometimes I need to help out. My wife was so busy. So that's the expectation. And third, alignment with the team. In the workplace, we don't talk about this because apa-apa we just look very visual, right? In the workplace, we are very visual. We can see what's going on and people know how to help us. So these are the 3 major challenges. Are we okay so far? Are we anything so far? Just put a thumbs up so I know you are still following, right? That will be helpful for me. Let me just check anything. Okay. Great. So somebody asked a question about, flexi hours. How to convince the conventional boss who are not familiar. So just a quick one. For flexi hour, once again, it's about, I think in the Malay proverb there's a Malay proverb that said, bagai bagi bunga pada kera, right? Now, I'm not calling people monkey. I think where I'm coming from is, that what proverbs say is, basically when we want to transition something, we need to think of a transition step, not immediately, right? I know of one company who just decide to just announce flexi hour. The next thing happens, everybody is not in office the next day. Because why they say it's flexi hour. So you're going to do flexi hour as part of your post-MCO preparation. You want to think in terms of process. How do we do it? So maybe instead of saying full flexi hours, you want to determine every Monday, Tuesday in the office, Wednesday you can work from home. So you want to have that kind of negotiation and discussion if your organization wants to go into flexi hour, right? Okay, good. So the other question is, how do you balance between working at home and taking care of your kids? So let me come to that question brings me to the next part, which is work from home. And page 10, if you're following on the presentation slide, it's on page 10. First, we need to recognize when people are working from home, emotion is at play. Now, most people don't talk about this except for people in the area of EQ. So, emotion at play, maknanya emosi kan. Bila kat rumah, kita rasa lebih stress because thinking of boss. And therefore, that has to be managed. Now, because of the Malaysian culture, we are not used to talking about feelings. So, kebanyakan bila orang tanya, ada masalah tak? Kita kata tak ada masalah. Tapi sebenarnya banyak masalah. Right? So, one of the things we need to recognize is kita kena berani cakap pasal emosi. Maknanya, kalau you ada masalah kat rumah, you want to tell your boss, saya ada sedikit masalah saya macam ni. So, you want to be having a conversation. 3 points that you want to do when you start moving. Firstly, and this is more with the leaders, right? So leader, if you are a manager managing your team, you want to know this. Firstly, work towards making the environment where people are comfortable to open up. Sebab bila kita transit daripada office ke working from home, memang ada banyak kerisauan, keraguan, stres kan. Jadi so if you are a leader, you kena buat satu environment mana orang selesa nak cakap pasal masalah dia. Kalau dia tak selesa, dia takkan cakap. Dia tak cakap, dia akan create problem. Right? So that's one. Secondly, changing behavior takes time. So macam mana kita nak tolong orang change their behavior? So satu tool yang kita guna ialah call feedback. Maknanya bila dia submit on time, kita want to call them and say, hey, I just want to give you a good feedback. Thank you very much for completing it, even though we have a lot of problem with leading from home, but you are doing it good job. Jadi feedback is like a progress report lah. You must do it very frequent. Don't just give the feedback at the end of it, right? You want to do very, very frequent. So that one you do. Third thing, add fun. You make things easier, right? Jadi macam like if you go on LinkedIn, you'll notice a lot of great managers, they are doing fun stuff, wear a cap, do morning exercise together. You can do all things. The whole idea is make it fun. Sebab orang rasa risau, jadi bila buat fun, dia rasa lebih senang nak kerja, right? So those are the emotions at play. Now, for leaders, and I'm okay, for leaders, so this part I'm going to address the leaders. First and foremost, you need to deal with your own anxiousness, right? So the challenge with leading is we need to manage ourselves first. So for example, I do recommend organizational leaders to really have what we call a leadership circle where you can talk about your problems and your challenges and all. And that's important because it helps you to de-stress, right? So that's one thing. Then the other thing is you need to be able to express it, right? So leaders, please deal your anxiousness. Don't say tak ada lah, tak ada masalah. Once again, culturally, we are not used to dealing with negative emotion. But my experience tells me you must deal with that. Sebab kalau you are anxious, you akan project it to your people, right? So for example, kalau you rasa orang rasa you are not leading properly, and then dia ketawa, then you get upset because you think that he's laughing at you, right? So you need to do your anxiousness, that's one. Secondly, help employee transition from fear to comfortable, which means you need to talk with them often. And when you talk, don't always talk about work, right? You want to talk about, hey, how are you doing? Very, very important. Then make time to understand their needs. So one of the things that I've been advising a lot of leaders during this MCO time, when you call, don't always call about work. Just find out, how are you doing? Is everything okay? Anak macam mana? Right? Macam mana cara isteri stres tak sebab anak sekarang belajar daripada rumah? Right? So you want to understand them, let them open up. So that's very important. Now, be authentic. And when I say be authentic is bagi tahu dia lah you punya struggle. So kalau you as a leader at home, kalau you boleh bagi tahu dia, ya, saya kat rumah pun sama juga. Isteri saya kadang-kadang macam tarik rambut tau sebab anak selalu tak kerja, kan? So you want to share, but it's very important. You also want to be hopeful, right? Menunjukkan maknanya ada harapan. So you want to show to be authentic about it, right? So that's one thing. The other thing about working from home is you need to manage a team. To manage a team, you need to create open communication. So don't have to always. So yes, I like to mention trust is very important. Yes, and this is what we are doing, right? Really is about establishing trust. When we say emotions, it is really about establishing trust. Now, when I talk about leaders, you need to create an open communication. It doesn't mean you have to always talk about it, right? Exactly. Working till late night, right? Still calling for online meeting. Exactly. So once again, I'll cover that next part. Now, let me just finish about this creating open communication. We have things like Dropbox. We have things like Google Drive. We have things like Microsoft OneDrive. I would suggest you have what we call a virtual dashboard, like either use a PowerPoint or anything, a common place where you can share things. Now, when you do that, orang akan tahu that, tak ada apa yang disembunyikan. Semua is transparent, right? So, our action are congruent. Exactly. It is being ourselves, not an imitation of what we think. Exactly. Thank you very much, Yalai. And that's what we are talking about. You need to share your concern and your challenges. That people know, right? Let us support each other. So you want to create a partnership mentality with your employees. No more top down, right? So communication. So I will end with the leaders part of communication. Find a way to create a team dashboard so everybody can access. The biggest problem in working from home is this thing called trust, right? This thing called trust, because people will think, oh, boss suka dia, jadi boss mungkin dengan dia lagi gang. Boss tak suka saya kan? So that happens. So you want to use all your virtual tools to create a space where everybody can. So you want to have in your Dropbox a place where, or you're using Microsoft Teams, right? Create a spot where everybody can share information. Create maybe a Gantt chart or a project planning chart so people want to know. Now you also want to create in terms of workload distribution, kan? Because sometimes people say, oh, yang budak tu kat rumah tak ada buat kerja, dia relax je. Tapi yang saya buat semua. So you want to have a virtual dashboard where you can show who's working on what project. Now, when you do that, the trust goes up because everybody knows that everybody's working. That's why, right? So you want to be thinking from that angle. Now, for the employee, right? For the employee, that means if you are working from home, I encourage you, galakkan for you to share your challenges with your boss. So, I mean, boss, saya kat rumah susah. Anak ada 3 orang. Isteri pun kerja, macam mana, right? So you want to share your problems. Now, in the Malaysian culture, because boss will always give you some suggestion, if the suggestion doesn't work, you want to say, tapi susah lah kalau saya buat macam tu kan, macam ni yang berlaku. You want to tell them, and you do want, and it's not about disagreement. Now, culturally, we are afraid to disagree with our boss, and that's culture. What you need to do. What you need to do is really to have that transition, that open communication to tell your boss this doesn't work. Why? If you keep quiet, which means your boss tell you and you disagree, but you say okay, in your boss's mind, it is okay, he will do what I say, which means in dalam pemikiran boss, your problem is solved. Kalau your problem dah solved, you should be able to work, kan? Itu kalau you senyap. Jadi kalau you bagi tahu, dia akan kata okay, jadi kita buat macam ni. So once again, you want to initiate a conversation, right? So let them know. Thirdly, negotiate and your deliverables and timeline. Negotiate deliverables, timeline, as well as workload. So there have been situations where, like one of my consultants, he need a bit more time at home. Then what I do is I break down the workload. I say, okay, instead of doing 5 things, focus on these 3 things. These 2 first, maybe you'll KIV for another time. So that's how I work, and you want to do that kind of negotiation. Because at the end of the day, you want your employee to feel safe, you want your employee to feel productive, and you want your employee to increase their level of confidence. So that's the first thing you need to do working. Establish a new working relationship, and trust is the golden nugget. All right? Yes. Erin, thank you very much. Need to apply wisdom when sharing problem with the boss? Of course. So one of the things is always use the I statement, right? This is my challenge, this is my struggle. Even if, so that is the way we work. Because why? We don't want to make the person feel threatened. Remember neuroscience? If I say you are making it difficult for me, the person will feel threatened and therefore they will step back or they will push even more. But if you say, boss, I have a problem, what happens is in the boss's mind, it feels like, oh, he has a problem, let me help. And that is a positive feeling, right? So go back, the foundation of neuroscience never change, right? If we are able to create positive feeling in our bosses, it makes they are more willing to help us, right? Let's go to the next one. Let's go to page 11. So in your presentation slide, page 11 talks about create routine. You must create routine. Now, some of us, because of personality, some of us are very routine, some of us are very flexible, some of us are very organized, some of us memang bercelaru lah. Semua tempat kan. Kadang-kadang bangun pukul 7, kadang-kadang bangun pukul 9. So, some of us are that. Now, this is our employee, right? Now, kenapa kena buat routine? Routine is important because it stabilizes the emotion. Bila kita ada routine, people feel that everything is okay, right? Which is why organization invest a lot of money in planning so that people feel safe. So, routine creates safety. So now when you move from working dari pejabat ke rumah, you must create routine. You must create routine, right? So here are some suggestions I can give you. Now, if you are the leader, you are a manager, you are managing your people, firstly, I suggest you come up with a weekly plan and stick to it. Weekly plan means what? Okay, every month, setiap hari Isnin, pukul 10, kita ada half an hour meeting, agendanya sebegini. Hari Rabu, kita akan kita akan buat discussion pasal projek A pukul 2 hari Khamis. So you want to be very fixed, right? Nah, ada orang kata, bos, tapi kita kerja dari rumah, ada benda lain kan? Yes, I agree. The reason why you want to give a routine, because later I'm going to talk, as an employee, it allows you to have a conversation and discussion with your partner, right? So remember, sekarang your partner is your stakeholder. So you must also manage your partner and your partner also need to manage you. Sediakan rutin untuk kerja dari rumah. Exactly. You must do routine. Now, some of us, we are fluid, right? We don't like routine. Now, that is cara you. Tapi bila you're managing people, you must set routine. So, number one. Now, if you are a leader, because when you are tengah setting routine, orang kata emosi dia masih naik turun kan. The emotion is still fluctuating. So, you want to create a lot of positive feel good. My suggestion, if you are in a leadership position, make it a point to do like good morning messages or motivational, right? Now, some of you will tell me, Aizat, tapi itu bukan cara saya. Saya memang tak buat macam tu. Nah, itu cara you. Tapi apa yang orang perlukan ialah positive energy. Jadi, you boleh ambil maybe gambar daripada online lah, good morning or motivational quote. So, send it. Now, the thing is this, send it at the same time every day. You are creating a routine, a positive routine. So, let's say lah, setiap pagi pukul 7, you send out a message to all your team on the WhatsApp, right? You do that mungkin pertama, after satu minggu you buat macam tu, I guarantee you, your employee will wake up waiting for that morning message. Try it, right? And the third point is organize short continuous feedback session. So mungkin sekali seminggu, maybe hari Khamis or Friday morning, you want to do a feedback session, which means, okay, team, kita dah seminggu dah kita kerja dalam work from home kan. Apa yang boleh kita buat sebagai satu pasukan untuk memperbaiki jadi minggu depan kita punya work from home lebih mudah. So you want to do this continuous improvement approach so that people know that you are thinking of them. Very, very important. Because of the emotional struggle, if people know that you are thinking of them, they will be more supportive. So you want to do that, leaders. For employees, so that one, leaders, right? So for the leader, you set a routine, you have a plan, you send your morning motivation because you are also creating a routine to increase their energy, right? It's very important that they start on the right note, okay? For employees, that means you dalam pasukan and you are just following your leader. Firstly, you need to negotiate with your partner in terms of your work time. Now, you punya boss dah bagi you dia punya routine, you dengan isteri you duduk and compare lah your routine, her routine. Cara macam tu tak ada clash. Kalau kata ada clash, then you all need to work out. Mungkin you tahu, mungkin isteri you punya boss not so flexible. You punya boss flexible kan. Jadi partner and then go back to your boss and say, boleh I tukar tak? Which means leaders, when you are planning your routine, you do want to involve your team members in the conversation of the routine. So what I will always do is like, I say, okay team, in a week, we need to have 3 kinds of meeting. Meeting A, meeting B, meeting C. I need to know which one, how to fit this into your timetable, right? Then usually cara I buat is I don't just say go and think about it. I give options. So I'll give option. Okay, so for meeting A, which is a follow-up meeting, for meeting A, which is a brainstorming meeting, option is Monday 2 o'clock or Monday 9 o'clock. So we want to put. So you want to give them options so it's easy for them to choose. Never give them and say, bila you nak. Because then you got 10 people, you got 10 different answers, susah nak merge. So you want to think of how you ask questions. Okay? Next, agree on, bila kerja kat rumah, you kena bersetuju dengan you punya partner, apa erti emergency. Kalau dia nak pergi beli bawang, and then if there's no emergency, you need your partner to know, and you need to have this conversation before work starts. Sebab bila tengah kerja, orang datang kata emergency, and you kata bukan, mungkin ada salah faham. There will be misunderstanding because you think your work is more important. Jadi, I would suggest you sit with your partner and agree on what's emergency. For example, kalau anak sakit is emergency, that's emergency. Tapi kalau anak tak belajar, that's not emergency. So you want to have an agreement with your partner. Okay, also have an agreement about who handles what time with who. Alright, I hope that helps you as an employee. Now, so that is in term managing you punya partner kat rumah. Next, and this is from a behavior perspective. Put on something that reminds you and your partner of work. Maknanya kalau, so why? As human, kita ni memang simbolik. Kita banyak barang simbolik. Jadi for some of you, kalau you tengok kat rumah, you ada barang sejak daripada kecil. Why? Because bila you tengok barang tu, ingatkan you pasal zaman you kecil kan. So human being, we are very symbolic. Kita suka barang. So my suggestion is like, for example, you pakai topi kat rumah, maknanya bila you pakai topi, you are in a work mode. Nah, bila you buat macam tu, kalau isteri you atau partner you kat rumah tengok you, they will know, you are working. Dia pun tak kacau. Right? So hat can be one, maybe a shirt, right? So maybe you pakai seluar pendek, tapi you wear a office shirt. So when your partner sees you, your partner knows you are in a work mode. Then when your partners know you are work mode, the partner become more considerate. That's one. Secondly, when you and both of you take turns, so you can choose something that works for you, right? Next, create a physical office. Kalau boleh di rumah, cari satu tempat sebagai pejabat. Now, you dengan isteri you boleh guna tempat yang sama, tapi masa lain, tapi create physical office. Mungkin macam satu idea orang buat ialah mungkin kat pintu, tampal notis, office. Jadi bila anak ke isteri tengok, dia pun member office. Bila you masuk bilik tu, you pun member office. Nah, kalau you tak ada bilik, mungkin you buat satu space lah. Mungkin satu corner you buat. Dan kalau you guna open space, saya cadangkan you face keluar rumah. Jangan face dalam rumah. Sebab bila you face dalam rumah, you tengok orang rumah jalan, you terganggu. Right? Jadi you want to face outside. Mungkin kat tingkap, you face kat luar, you tak nampak apa yang berlaku. Jadi you tak dikacau. Alright? The last part, which is page 12, the person before the problem. One of the things that I notice in culture is kita anggapkan orang tu sebagai satu. Which means, kalau dia buat, so if a person do something wrong, it doesn't mean he's a bad person. Right? So one of the things we need to do first when working from home is to distinguish the person from his work. Which means, if he didn't complete his work, I don't think it's fair to say he is lazy. What I would say is, okay, don't know why he didn't complete the work, so I'll focus on completing the work. But he's not lazy because in other areas he does it well. So it's very important, alright? We've talked about working from home, and some of the question is, how does husband and wife work together? Cara isteri suami kerja. One of the things, ask your boss for a routine, a plan. Jadi you all can manage each other's schedule, alright? And I want to encourage you, if you are a employee, that you talk to your boss kalau ada time clash. Masalahnya selalu macam ni. You dengan you punya partner ada time clash, tapi you takut nak cakap. Jadi sebabnya tu, then you all stress out each other. Right? Sebab sekarang you work from home, jadi home, you kena manage home. So have a conversation with your partner so that you can agree on the schedule, jadi kat rumah boleh dijaga. If you are a leader, I would suggest you make it a point for them to turn on. Kalau dia tak nak, you need to have a one-on-one with them to find out why. Mungkin dia tak nak orang tengok rumah dia, or he doesn't want you to see their home. Alright? So you want to assure them. A lot of the time is about giving them assurance that everything is okay, that we are not judging you for anything else. You must always do that. Make sure that they on the camera. That is my strong suggestion. It could be a situation the house is very small and he's sharing the wife behind. So maybe you can suggest to them to put it at the corner and sit and talk to them. So camera has to be on. So it helps you to be able to pick up on, say, the facial expression. Maybe they are not happy or something. You can do that, alright? So that's something I would suggest for people don't like on their video. Okay, I'm going to virtual meeting. So I hope that answers the question somebody sent with regards to what can I do, how do I manage at home, right? So you and your wife, you and your partner need to manage your schedule. just like how you manage office now your wife is also a co-worker or your partner, so you need to manage each other's schedule. Based on that, discuss your boss. I hope that is going to help you a lot, right? So let's go into virtual meeting. So virtual meeting and I would say virtual meeting has three kind of challenges. If you are looking on the presentation slide, page 13, there are three kind of challenges which most people will face in a virtual meeting context. First is what we call the technical challenges. All right, good. The do's and don'ts, right? So first is the virtual meeting challenges. There's technical challenges. No computer at home, internet connection not good, like what happened just now. Location is dim, that means ada lampu or distraction in the background. Jadi kalau kata you're doing the workroom and your wife is cooking behind, you don't want to have a cooking show in your virtual meeting, right? So you need to do that. Like for me, I invested a bit of money because of my job. I actually bought a screen to use it. So you want to think of way you can do. Okay, so that's one. The leadership challenge. Now, leadership challenge means kalau you yang panggil mesyuarat, if you are initiating a meeting, these are the challenges you face. Firstly, there's no structure to the meeting. What do I mean there's no structure? You do not want to say anybody got question. No, I wouldn't suggest that. I would suggest at the start, you go down the line. Okay, Lim, any question? Abu, any question? Sami, any question? You want to do that, right? And you want to make it very clear that if they don't share the challenge, then they are responsible for the problem. If they share the problem, then the responsibility is with the team. So I will always do that when I work with teams, to make it a point to say who's responsible for it. Now, which is what we talk about, expectation not clear. Now, in a high context society like in Malaysia, we expect people to know our expectation. That is not helpful in a work from home context. Dari segi work from home, you must make your expectation explicit, which means kalau tak cakap, maknanya tak nak. So, for example, if you want the person to do research on 3 items, you kata, I need you to do minimum 3. Right? Jangan kata sebanyak yang boleh. Because guess what? The fellow will do 1 because itulah yang sebanyak yang dia boleh. Right? So, you have to be very specific with your expectation. You also want to provide. Now, okay, hold on, Lilo, right? Lilo. Organization work from home needs to provide. I think these are such things that basic that needs to be done. With a lot of clients, MNC clients I work, they do provide things like phone allowances and all, right? So these are part of it. Okay. So yes, organization should provide some kind of support for them to use. In fact, yesterday you noticed there was an article by TNB about cost of it went up. So I think organization should provide that. Now, the thing is this, and this is very practical. Don't wait until the organization approve before you start. You start first. I'm sure the organization will do something about it. It's just that organization decision making takes a longer time. So you just need to be provided. Now, VPN really depends on the kind of work. Not everything requires VPN, right? Okay, so on how to manage people's feedback during virtual meeting. All right. So remember I taught you structure. So part of it is you want to have a sign of how do we give feedback. So like when I do my webinar, when I do interviews with people, I always get them to carry something. So let's say if you want to ask, you uncut. Then at least those watching knows that I want to say something, right? So use that. Don't try to talk over each other. If not, you become a shouting competition, right? So that's one way that we do in terms of giving feedback in the meeting. The other feedback that we want to know, is it a personal feedback or team feedback? Kalau it's a personal feedback, do not do it in the team. Do it one-on-one. All right? So that's the one. Now, let me go back to the leadership challenge. Now, the other thing is presentation material. Kalau you are doing an online presentation, make sure your PowerPoint is big and clear, and also use picture because picture is attractive. So if you notice my presentation slide to you, I use a lot of picture because we know people are visual. So your presentation material is also important. All right. So that is something that you want to take note of. Team members not then the other challenge that you have is I'm not sure whether people understand me or not. So what you can do is sometimes and this also goes back to how do you manage feedback is So after you share something, you want to, if you don't like people talking, you ask them to type in the chat box, or in terms of what do they understand, right? It is always very important. And at the end of the meeting, you want to do a summary. Summary is, okay, so Zol, you are supposed to do this, correct? So, and sometimes you want to reverse it. So Zol, what are you supposed to do? Now, Joe, what are you supposed to do? Lim, what are you supposed to do? Ramasamy, what are you supposed to do? So you want to do that as a process in your meeting so that you know that they know. Very important that they know. Doesn't matter that you know, right? So always do what we call a check back with them. So that's something that you want to be working with, right? And for the people side, interruption by the surrounding. The other leadership challenge that you will face. All right. So can I have a slide? Okay. So the other thing with team members not prepared for a meeting. So when you prepare a meeting, you must send an agenda early. In the workplace, we don't need agenda because you know why? In the meeting, suddenly, can you call Ali? You just run and then go call Ali. Oh, Pasal ni, then you just run and go another document. You can do that in the workplace. You cannot do that on a virtual meeting, which means as the leader, as the manager calling for the meeting, you must always have an agenda. My suggestion, agenda go out at least 2 days before the meeting. In the agenda, it has to be clear what is it about, who does what. Very, very important. All right? Because at least when they come prepared and your meeting is shorter. Do you notice in the workplace meeting is long because people don't come prepared? That's why it becomes a 2 hours meeting. All right? So preparation for meeting is very, very crucial. All right? Next, people challenge. Now, people challenge talk about your employee. Maknanya orang you punya team member lah. Dia punya interruption by the surrounding. Mungkin anak lari kan, anak datang. It's fine. It's not fine. What I mean is you can plan wise. So this goes back to you and your partner managing each other's timing. Okay, and two. Now, don't view the meeting as important. And after I will share, kalau you punya meeting ialah untuk borak-borak, untuk how are you doing, raya macam mana, then some people will find it a waste of time. So the meeting has to be very purposeful. Okay. Third one, the challenger, screen fatigue. Dia dari pagi sampai petang dia tengok screen. So you need to keep your meeting really short. Maximum, in my opinion, 1 hour. Kalau you punya meeting panjang, lebih daripada 1 hour, have breaks. Okay, after 45 minutes, okay, team, let's take a 10 minutes break. We will come back for a meeting in 10 minutes time. You boleh buat macam tu. So that's how you do that. Right? And finally, I say don't turn off camera. Somebody asked earlier on, we can do camera. Is there such a thing as professional background for meetings? Can. So for example, Faina, I use Zoom, and Zoom has a virtual background meeting. Now, a lot of people are still afraid of Zoom, but Zoom has already improved their security feature. So technically, Zoom is still safe, and Zoom has a virtual background. Because I'm streaming directly from Facebook, Facebook doesn't have virtual background, but background is my wall. So my suggestion, if you don't have virtual background, use a single color wall. That would be better than nothing. All right. So that is that. Next, a very, very important question when it comes to meeting, right? And this is on page 14, is why do we even call for a meeting? Why, right? A lot of meeting is not productive because a lot of the meeting is for progress update. Now, my suggestion, and I strongly feel about this, progress update can be done via email or report. You don't need to have a meeting to do progress update. So what do we call for meeting? If you look at page 14, coordination, which means kalau you punya pasukan ada 3-4 orang, and kalau apa yang number 1 buat akan have impact on number 2 and 3, then they need together. Jadi semasa perbincangan, kita boleh aturkan jadi project 2 okay. So in coordination, then you call for meeting. One. What do you call for meeting? Problem solving. Tapi kalau problem solving, you need them to do pre-work, right? So you can have basic discussion, which is why kalau you ada framework macam 4M lah, root cause analysis, semua orang buat, jadi bila meeting, dia lebih cepat. Third thing you want to do remote meeting is brainstorming. Tapi if you want to do brainstorming, you must bagi tahu orang awal-awal what's the brainstorming meeting. So a example of how we'll do is I will call, so I will on my WhatsApp, I will record my audio. I'll say, okay, team, on Friday's meeting, we want to do brainstorming, and this brainstorming is for this project A, and I want to know what ideas can we do for this project because this is the requirement. So please come with your ideas on Friday's meeting. I will do that, right? So I prefer to use voice instead of just text. Yeah, definitely program updates. Do it offline. Don't waste everybody's time because time is precious. Now, next thing you want to do a remote meeting, clarification session. So let's say your company came up with a new SOP. Now, the problem with words is senang salah faham. So what I will do is I will say, okay, team. So I will email everybody. I'll say, okay, this is the SOP, the new SOP. Please read through on Tuesday when we meet. You must come to me with any clarification. Kalau you tak ada soalan, saya anggap you faham. Kalau you faham, maknanya kalau you buat salah, there is a consequence. So you want to always push it back to them that they are responsible for it. In the workplace, tak payah because boss do everything. In the work from home, they have to be responsible for it. So clarification session. Now, 2 tips for meeting, keep it concise, which means you say meeting starts at 10, you start at 10. My suggestion, tell people to come to turn on their webinar at 9:55. So kalau ada apa-apa masalah, they can start. 10 o'clock, start proper. If you start late, people will think you're not serious. And once again, it makes things a bit more, the emotional rock will happen, right? The other thing, make it fun. If you are on LinkedIn, I suggest you go on LinkedIn and you see, I've seen a lot, Dato' J. Abdullah and all, where they have very fun meeting, come with a hat, right? Come with an instrument, or, I started my career in a Japanese company. Every morning we have this 5 minutes exercise. So you want to do that, your team, create fun stuff. And fun is important, especially for the newer, younger generation. You must do it, even if you are not. All right. So those are the things when it comes to the virtual meeting. Why do we need to do meeting? Now, my last slide at page 15, slide 15. How do we make it work correctly? First, involve people. So kalau you familiar the word engagement, you want to get people very, very involved in it, right? So for example, in your virtual meeting, you want to have somebody to be the timekeeper. So you have an agenda, right? And in your agenda, you want to say, okay, for agenda 1, we're going to spend about half an hour. Agenda 2, we're going to spend 15 minutes. Now, appoint a timekeeper. When you do that, everybody's engaged. Kalau tak, everybody jadi penonton aja. You want to have people engaged. So, get them to do something. So, you have a timekeeper. You also have what we call a scribe, somebody who takes down the minutes. Now, if you are a manager who always takes down a minute, I would suggest you get somebody. That's one. Secondly, you want to get different people to play that role different time. Now, writing minute requires some skill, but what you can do is you can always appoint what we call the consultant. Let's say Jane is very good at minute writing, right? So next week, let's say Bob is supposed to do the minute. So you want to say, Bob, can you learn from Jane how to do the minute writing? And then you do it. So why? Firstly, they learn a new skill. Secondly, they are engaged. Because when you are learning, you have to think a lot, right? So think of that from that angle. Agenda has to be sent out. So I already shared this at least 2 days in advance. Now, agenda has to be specific. Now, I've seen a lot of people copy-paste agenda. Copy-paste agenda doesn't work. So my suggestion is please take the agenda. Please make sure your agenda is specific, right? Third, expect members to log in earlier. I've shared about it. Now, appoint timekeeper and note taker. Once again, find roles. If you also want to, you can come up with creative roles. You may want somebody who say, okay, every 5 minutes, let's do something fun. So 5 minutes, everybody say, put your left finger on your nose. You can do that. So inject a bit of fun in your meeting because you have to remember your staff will be in a few meetings in one day also. You never know, right? Keep the meeting tight, which means concise. Now, use breakout room. I use Zoom, and in Zoom, it allows me to get people to go into a few groups. Now, if you are using things like Microsoft Teams, you may need to create different subgroups, right? So that's something that you want to think about. So for example, when I do a brainstorming meeting on virtual, what I'll do, okay, now so let's go into brainstorming. Can the three of you brainstorm on this idea, the three of you brainstorm on that. Then I will get them into their breakout rooms. They will do their discussion. Then when they come back to the main virtual meeting, they present their findings. So that is a brilliant way for engagement and brainstorming. Fun element I shared, slides, as I said, make it interesting because it's a presentation, right? So if you have attended presentation skills, then use those elements. For longer meetings, plan breaks, and when speaking, look at the camera, not at the slide. So like now you can see I'm looking at camera, and I've been doing that most of this presentation, and instead of looking at the slide, because it creates a bit of personalization. So those are the things that I've been doing with, and I hope you have found the session beneficial. So those are the things that I've already covered so far. Are there questions that I have not answered, or anything that has not been answered from this presentation? Please come out to it, and I'll be able to see if I can give you some tips. All right. All right, as well as any feedback, any question, because I'm not able to connect with you directly. If you're able to give feedback on the page, I'm able to give you some very practical tips, right? Things that you can actually do. My focus, especially when I'm talking about working from home, is to leaders in terms of, you need to recognize your employee as emotional struggle, not physical struggle, but emotional struggle as well. You need to push them. One of the things I do with leaders is when you ask employee for feedback, do not say, do you have a problem? Right? Because the answer will be no. That is culture, at least in the Malaysian side. What you want to do is you want to say, hey, what are some of the challenges you are facing in the during MCO? What are some of the challenges you're facing? Now, when I ask the question with the assumption that the fellow has problems. This is important, right? Because when you do that, then you punya staff will say, okay lah, boss tanya, I bagi tahu, right? So that is something that I noticed in the Malaysian context. Leaders, you need to go down. Just because your staff say no problem, don't assume that's correct. I can guarantee you they have a lot of challenges. So you must ask them. Now, for staff, especially for us in Malaysia, you must be gutsy enough to talk to your boss and say, boss, I got problem. Right? Jangan anggap sebab you ada masalah, boss takkan suka you. Right? Ada satu soalan dari awam, rasa saya tak semua jawatan. Okay, good. Not all. Alright, so now is in the MCO time, right? So we want to recognize two situations. Special situation like now and after MCO. Now, for example, in manufacturing production line, you cannot do work from home. Secretary, so I got two answers to this. Technically, if your work is coordination and paperwork, for the coordination part, you can call. But some bosses are not used to virtual secretary, right? Because they are so used, kalau apa-apa just call, and then just call outside. So that is the challenge. So my answer would be, for most office work, you can work from home. Most office work. Production work, difficult, right? So, and I come from manufacturing, so you always have office and you have production. On production side, very hard to work from home, but office can work from home. One of the culture I noticed, especially in the Malaysian culture, because we want to be fair, just because production must follow time, we say office people also must follow time. Not necessarily true. You can have separate, but you must explain why. Okay? So I hope that gives you a reasonable answer, because so when you talk about clerk or secretary, right? Question is, can they work? Because now the challenge is this: it depends on whether you're dealing with confidential information or not confidential. If confidential, you cannot work from home. You have to come to the office. But you can do what we call flexi hours, which means so for example, the kerani kalau dia nak key in, they want to put in the database, they can do at home. Tapi like say some of the official receipts and documents in the workplace, right? So they can actually in the morning, they don't have to come in, but they come in the afternoon just to do lah. So as leaders, you manage by timeline. You manage by deliverables, not by how they work. Once again, this is a transition. It will take time. You do need to take step by step. This is the thing that I'm working with Malaysian Productive Corporation in terms of leading virtually. What are the final steps you need to take? When I work from home, I have to be a teacher to my three kids. Yes. So one of the things about to reduce this stress is, I would say is this: our culture is about being nice. So being nice means I need to entertain everybody. Now this is a cultural issue. If you look at how, and I think in this perspective, a culture where a bit more calculative is going to be helpful. Maknanya, okay, you need. So what happens is this, right? And it's going to sound a bit controversial with children, even with my daughter. We will say, okay, if you don't finish by this time, you do not get. So there's consequences. We use that. But at the same time, kalau dia tak habis, then the teachers will scold them. We will allow that. So that's for me. So that's the biggest part of the challenge. Secondly, you could organize with other parents, like almost like homeschooling, right? Homeschooling in terms of getting people to talk to them. Where I'm coming from is you must protect your timing, which means you want to be fixed, okay? Which is, remember I talked about having schedule with your partner. So if I'm doing from 8 to 10, I just do 8 to 10. Then after that, maybe 10 to 11, break. Break means I can be in the house. I do my motherly stuff. So this is where I talk about wearing different caps, right? Wearing different caps in terms of my mother's hat. I'm a mother. I am a CEO. I am the chef, right? And once again, Malaysian culture, you don't have to do everything. Go and get home delivery food, right? Reduce certain load because we are bound by time. There's only so much time you can do. Don't try to do everything at the same time. And I think this is something that is a very Asian thing. So you just need to give your permission to be calculative. It's perfectly fine. I don't think you're doing anything wrong with that. Okay, that's my honest, most practical answer I can give you. Wow, with in-law, it's also the same. So with in-law, once again, the problem in the Malaysian culture is adults or senior people always expect us to say yes to everything, right? Because they expect us to say yes to everything, that's where the challenge happens. So this is something that you need to figure out yourself, whether you can. So for example, if you're living with in-law, then get your partner to manage them. You don't manage them directly. Which means you go to your partner and say, alamak, tolong lah, can you talk to your parents? Because I really need, the meeting is important. So you need to do that. Okay? So work with your partner to manage his parents, and he work with you to manage your parents. It's very important. But you need to be very honest with each other in terms of your limitation, because we are not expected to be Superman. All right? Okay, so I have a question, say, for jobs that do not require visual monitoring and based only on deadline and outcome, do we really need to be in the office? What will be the impact if we just work from home? Please share in terms of leaders' perspective on what they should understand. Any different in being implemented in the government and private? Obviously, in private and government, there is a difference, and we need to recognize that. Generally, in the government sectors, the culture is very much a Malaysian culture, right? Because it's like that. In the private sector, if you are more MNC, let's say you're more American, then obviously they have a slightly different one. Now, we need to recognize, so let me share with you my experience when I was working in a consulting company in Singapore. So we have a very interesting setup where we have flexi working hours, but on every, I think, twice a week, we must be in the office. And why? Because the culture that the company I was working for wanted team cohesiveness. And the belief is for team cohesiveness, people need to be seeing and interacting with one another. So twice a week, everybody must be in the office. Subsequent day, you do come to office, but as and when you need to. So you can. Now, that's one thing. The next thing that you need to talk as a leader is you need to recognize what we call the transition. The transition from work in the office to now working from. It is a transition, and transition is all about emotions, right? So that one requires a more longer session. I will respond to you personally later to understand your situation better on that. So one of the things that I work with leaders is this thing about role playing, right? So for example, when you are a daughter, you behave differently than when you're a mother. You behave differently than when you're a grandmother. I've always told my parents the job description for a grandparent is to spoil the grandchild. And I have to accept that. So likewise, when you are working at home, it is very important to ask yourself, what role am I playing? So just now I shared with you that you need to wear something so that your partner and you know that you're in a work mode, right? That is what we do. Even for me, I wear this. Whenever I wear this, it tells me I'm doing a professional job. So I become more focused in what I'm doing. So even at home, right, you can make it in a fun way, right? Maybe if you have a bandana or a sleeve, right, maybe you can even color code. Red means job mode, green means mother mode. So you can do fun stuff like that. And I think the family is going to enjoy doing that with you, right? I hope that's helpful as a response. With that, thank you so much. Have a great Wednesday, and please also connect with me on the last slide is my contact. Please connect with me on LinkedIn. It's helpful. I do share some stuff from time to time. I'm working currently with Malaysia Productivity Corporation on leading virtually. If that's something that you are looking for, please reach out to us and we will do our best to support you in that area. With that, thank you very much. Terima kasih dan have a good day.